Imagine your company is just suddenly bleeding cash. Like the market shifted overnight.
Oh, the ultimate nightmare scenario.
Right. Clients are pulling out. Bankruptcy is, a very real possibility. And in that exact moment of crisis, who do you actually want in charge?
That is the million-dollar question.
Yeah. Do you want the CEO who, I don't know, remembers everyone's birthday and tries to be everyone's friend? Or do you want the one who is just terrifying enough to force the board to make brutal, unpopular, but entirely necessary cuts?
It's a stark choice, isn't it?
Totally. And today we're welcoming you to a deep dive that answers one central, frankly ruthless question. We're unpacking a single, incredibly potent piece of source text today.
And it is a dense one.
Oh, for sure. It's a compelling theoretical mashup of two landmark books on strategy. We're talking Niccolo Machiavelli's The Prince and Robert Greene's The 48 Laws of Power.
Two very heavy hitters when it comes to the fundamental concepts of power and authority.
Exactly. And the central question it throws right at you, the listener, is this. Are you more successful managing as a good person or a feared person?
It's such a jarring way to frame it.
It really is. It's wild how this single sentence captures a dilemma that leaders have literally wrestled with for centuries. So, okay, let's unpack this.
I'm ready.
Why are being a good person and being feared presented as the only two primary options for management? I mean, why start with that stark reality?
Well, I think it forces an immediate tension, It strips away all those comfortable, feel-good illusions we have about leadership.
The corporate jargon, basically.
Exactly. When you look closely at the text's specific phrasing, power and authority, it forces us to separate those two concepts completely.
Wait, separate them? How so?
So authority is just the title you hold. It's what's printed on your business card or, your LinkedIn profile.
Right, like VP of marketing or whatever.
Yeah. But power is your actual mechanical ability to make a complex group of human beings execute your will.
Ah, I see the distinction.
And the source implies there's this inescapable natural tension between maintaining your personal morality, like being the good, accommodating person, and asserting functional control, which it brutally equates with being feared.
I hear that, but I feel like I have to push back a little on this binary right out of the gate.
Fair enough.
It just feels far too absolute, Let me throw an analogy at you. Is managing people really just like holding on to a handful of sand?
A handful of sand. Okay, I like where this is going.
Like if you grip it too tightly, if you manage through pure fear and intimidation, the sand just slips through your fingers because people quit.
High turnover. Absolutely.
But then if you hold it too loosely, just trying to be the good, empathetic boss, the wind just blows it away because no one actually respects your boundaries.
That's a really great way to visualize it.
Right. There has to be a functional middle ground where you aren't just a tyrant or a total pushover.
Well, this raises an important question. What is your default assumption about power? Or really your baseline assumption about human behavior when money and status are actually on the line?
Okay, that's starve, but go on.
Because this synthesis of Machiavelli and Greene demands that you abandon your idealism entirely.
Yeah.
It asks you to view power dynamics strictly as a machine.
Just gears and livers.
Exactly. Think about the mechanics of being a quote-unquote good person in management. Your control relies entirely on the reciprocal goodwill of the people under you.
Which means, wait, you're essentially outsourcing your operational power to their individual consciences.
Bingo. You are hoping that they prioritize your kindness over their own immediate convenience.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Taking that a step further, if I give my team like unlimited PTO because I want to be a good progressive manager.
A very modern business scenario.
Right. I am basically betting the entire company's productivity on the assumption that they just won't abuse that freedom.
Which is a massive vulnerability. Human conscience in a modern corporate hierarchy is incredibly unreliable.
Because of self-interest.
Yes. Competing self-interest, intense financial pressures, the diffusion of responsibility, all of that erodes goodwill. If you manage purely through goodness, the moment your team's self-interest conflicts with your directives, your power just evaporates.
It's gone.
Poof. However, if you manage through fear, and let's redefine fear here, right? We're not talking about screaming in an office.
Throwing staplers or whatever.
Exactly. Not that. We mean a highly structured, inescapable consequence system. If you do that, your control suddenly relies on their instinct for self-preservation.
And self-preservation is a much, much stronger drive than gratitude.
Drastically more consistent, yes.
I mean, I see the mechanical logic there. But wait, doesn't fear actually destroy compliance the second you turn your back?
How do you mean?
Well, if my team only acts out of self-preservation the moment I leave the room or, take a week off, they're just going to slack off.
Ah, the whole when the cat's away idea.
Yeah. Cultivating goodness and loyalty creates autonomous workers who actually care about the mission. Relying on fear means you have to constantly, exhaustingly surveil everyone to maintain the threat.
But that assumes fear only exists when the enforcer is physically standing right there. And this brings us directly to the first major pillar of the source text, Niccolo Machiavelli and the Prince.
Right, the guy whose name is literally synonymous with the feared side of the equation. Machiavellian.
Exactly. Machiavelli's concept of fear isn't about micromanagement. It's about systemic dread.
Systemic dread. That sounds intense.
It's the knowledge that the metrics are tracking you. The quarterly review is coming, whether the boss is in the room or not. The standard of excellence is unforgiving.
So it's baked into the system.
Yes. Let's look at the modern business landscape. Consider the stereotypical, nice guy, startup founder in Silicon Valley.
Oh, we see that all the time. They launch with a flat hierarchy, 0 titles, and the philosophy that everyone is a, quote, equal partner.
Right, it sounds totally utopian on day one.
It really does.
But what happens when a product launch goes completely off the rails? And suddenly, someone needs to work an 80-hour week to fix the code.
The good founder asks for a favor.
And the team, prioritizing their work-life balance, declines.
Because they have that option.
Exactly. The founder, who is trapped by their own ethos of goodness, cannot force compliance. So deadlines are missed, the product fails, and the investors eventually just remove the founder.
Wow. So the goodness was actually an abdication of responsibility.
Precisely. Now, contrast that with the classic corporate turnaround CEO.
The person the board brings in when the retail chain is like 6 months from total bankruptcy.
Yes. They do not host trust-building retreats. They arrive, they establish rigid KPIs, they fire the bottom 10% of performers immediately, and they make the survival of the company the only priority.
They generate a massive amount of fear, but they often stop the bleeding.
They achieve the functional success the board demands.
Which is why a book called The Prince is being used as a benchmark for modern management success.
Exactly. He is foundational here because he was one of the first political thinkers to completely sever leadership from traditional morality.
He looked at the historical data and was like, nope, being nice doesn't work.
Pretty much. He concluded that leaders who attempt to remain perfectly good in a world full of people who are not good will inevitably be ruined.
He practically wrote the playbook on why relying on being loved is a terrible operational strategy.
He really did.
But, apply that to a modern office setting for a moment. In a corporate context, the love is an employee staying late to finish a pitch deck because they genuinely like you as a person.
Yes.
The fear is that same employee staying late because they know if they lose the client, their yearly bonus is gone. Their promotion track is frozen.
And what's fascinating here is the source text isn't asking what is ethically preferable. It is only asking what is more successful.
Right. It completely removes the moral judgment.
Machiavelli argues that the bond of love is super easily broken whenever it serves the individual's advantage to break it.
If your employee gets a job offer for 20% more money across town.
Exactly. Their affection for you will rarely, if ever, stop them from leaving. But fear is maintained by a dread of punishment that never leaves them.
Wow. So the manager who establishes a healthy, respectful, fear-like a reputation for strict, impartial accountability maintains their authority regardless of how the employee feels about them that day.
Yes, that is the core Machiavellian argument.
But that turns management into this cold science of leverage.
It does.
And if I pull the fear of losing your job lever, I get immediate compliance. But I really have to push back on the long-term viability of that.
Go for it. What's the risk?
Pure fear breeds toxic, paranoid work environments. Look at famously ruthless big tech firms or high-frequency trading floors.
The ones that grind people to dust.
Exactly. They have massive employee turnover, rampant burnout, and a culture of hiding mistakes. If I'm terrified of my manager, I am not going to tell them the software has a bug until it's too late.
You're going to cover it up to survive.
100%.
But see, that is the exact trap of misunderstood Machiavellianism. He explicitly warns against that.
Wait, he does?
Yes. Machiavelli states that a successful leader must inspire fear, but absolutely must avoid hatred.
Hatred. Okay. Hatred is what causes the sabotage and the hiding of mistakes I just mentioned.
Exactly.
So how do you separate the two in a practical sense? Where is the line between an employee fearing you and hating you?
It's all about emotion versus calculation. Hatred is emotional.
Hmm.
Fear is calculative.
Okay, unpack that.
Hatred is generated when a leader is unnecessarily cruel, inconsistent, or violates a fundamental sense of fairness.
Like stealing a subordinate's credit for a successful project.
Yes. Or publicly humiliating someone in a meeting just to stroke your own ego. That causes hatred.
Right, that makes sense.
But you generate functional fear when you simply enforce a known or rigid standard.
Like firing someone for repeatedly missing targets.
Exactly. Firing them causes fear among the rest of the staff, but if the metrics were super clear, it rarely causes hatred. Fear is a calibrated tool. Hatred is a catastrophic liability.
That's a brilliant distinction. So Machiavelli proves that fear ensures compliance from your subjects. But in a modern office, you aren't a prince with a standing army and absolute authority.
Very true. You usually have an HR department to deal with.
Right. You are a mid-level manager dealing with peers, a boss above you, and a team below you. So how do you actually manufacture that calculated fear without getting fired?
And that is exactly where the second half of our source material comes in.
Yes. Here's where it gets really interesting. I want to throw an analogy at you.
Let's hear it.
If Machiavelli tells you where to pour the concrete for the structural, load-bearing walls of power, Robert Greene's Day. The 48 laws of power is the wiring behind the drywall.
Oh, I love that.
It's the invisible electrical currents of manipulation and human psychology that actually keep the lights on and the machine running in a modern setting.
That captures the transition perfectly. Greene's work basically takes the macro-level political survival tactics of Machiavelli and democratizes them for everyday office politics.
He outlines universal laws of human behavior.
Right. And when we apply Greene to our central question, good person versus feared person, his laws heavily suggest that managing as a good person is incredibly dangerous.
Because it makes you blind.
Yes.
Yes.
It makes you blind to the reality of the game being played around you.
Let's ground this in a specific modern workplace scenario. Take Greene's most famous rule. Never outshine the master.
A classic.
A purely good employee operates on the assumption that merit always wins, right?
They assume the best idea always gets rewarded.
Exactly. So imagine you are a junior marketing manager. You come up with a brilliant, revolutionary ad campaign.
Okay, painting the picture.
You go into a massive meeting with the VP and your direct boss, and you passionately present this idea, taking all the initiative, showing off your brilliance. You think you are being a good, proactive employee.
And you have likely just permanently damaged your career.
Wait, really? Explain the psychological mechanics of why that backfires so badly.
It comes down to ego threat. People in positions of power are often deeply, deeply insecure about their own necessity.
Imposter syndrome at the top.
Big time. By outshining your boss in front of their superior, you haven't just presented a good idea, you have publicly highlighted their obsolescence.
Oh, man. You made them look useless.
Yes, you triggered their survival instinct against you. The good person instinct failed because it ignored the reality of human ego.
So what would the calculated, power-aware instinct dictate?
It would dictate that you subtly feed the idea to your boss. You allow them to present it as a collaborative effort that they oversaw.
You mask your brilliance?
You mask your brilliance to maintain their comfort, and you secure your own safety in the process.
Wow. It requires a level of psychological manipulation that totally conflicts with the traditional definition of being honest and transparent.
It absolutely does.
Let's look at another one of Greene's laws that directly feeds into this idea of generating fear. Learn to keep people dependent on you.
A very powerful law.
Right. Because if you want to be a successful manager, the good person model says you should empower your team, teach them everything you know, and make yourself obsolete so they can thrive.
And Greene would argue that making yourself obsolete is literal professional suicide.
Wait, why?
Because if you teach everyone how to run the proprietary financial model you built, you are no longer necessary. True power, in a corporate setting, is making your daily presence completely invisible, but making your absence catastrophic.
Catastrophic, wow. So it's not just about hoarding the passwords to the software.
No, not at all.
It's about being, like, the only person who holds the historical context of a vital client relationship. If you leave, the client leaves.
Precisely. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, that the source text is using Greene to demonstrate that fear in the modern world isn't physical intimidation.
It's structural dependency.
Yes.
Yes.
It is reputational dominance. It is the subtle, quiet anxiety your colleagues feel when they realize they cannot achieve their goals without your specific cooperation.
And that is a far more potent form of power than simply being liked.
Unbelievably more potent.
Which brings us to the ultimate trade-off here. We have to look closely at the specific phrasing the source text uses. It asks, are you more successful managing as a good person or a feared person?
That "or" is crucial.
It's doing a lot of heavy lifting. So, what does this all mean for you listening to this? How do we actually define success in management based on this incredibly stark, uncompromising choice?
Well, that "or" is brutal because it refuses to let the reader hide behind comfortable illusions.
The illusion that you can be everyone's best friend while simultaneously extracting maximum performance from them.
Exactly. It forces you to evaluate the mechanics of success without the filter of wishful thinking.
Right.
In the context of this Machiavellian and Greene synthesis, success is defined entirely by achieving your objectives, maintaining your position against rivals, and expanding your sphere of influence.
It literally does not factor in your personal popularity.
Not even a little bit.
By that metric, the text leans overwhelmingly toward the calculated, feared approach. If success is purely about survival and tangible results, then being universally good is a luxury that leaders simply cannot afford.
Look at the biographies of the most transformative industry titans over the last few decades.
Oh, like the people who revolutionized global logistics or personal computing or the electric vehicle market.
Exactly. The anecdotes that leak out of those boardrooms are rarely about how sweet, forgiving, and accommodating these visionary leaders were.
Actually, quite the opposite. The defining stories are usually about impossible demands, public firings for incompetence, and just a pervasive atmosphere of relentless, crushing pressure.
They managed through a profound sense of awe mixed with genuine terror.
Yeah, people worked 100-hour weeks not just because they were inspired by a mission. They did it out of a deep-seated fear of disappointing the visionary, or the fear of being fired and left out of the history they were actively making.
Were they good people to
Yeah.
their employees? A vast majority of their former staff would emphatically say no.
But were they successful? By any metric of market capitalization, product innovation, and industry dominance, the answer is undeniably yes.
But, and
Yeah.
this is where you have to weigh the unseen costs. Managing purely through fear guarantees one specific type of outcome.
High compliance.
Yes, rigorous execution of established processes and a very clear, unquestioned chain of command. But, as you touched on earlier, it also guarantees a lack of creative risk-taking.
Because if failure is punished severely, no one will pitch a wild, potentially industry-disrupting idea.
Exactly. They will only pitch what they know is safe.
That seems like a massive blind spot in the Machiavellian approach. You get perfect execution of yesterday's ideas, but you kill the innovation needed for tomorrow.
It's a huge risk.
Whereas managing through goodness, creating a psychologically safe environment where failure is treated as a learning opportunity, that can invite incredible loyalty and massive creative leaps.
It can. But the text's premise counters that pure goodness inevitably invites exploitation.
Exploitation of the manager.
Yeah. Think about your top performers. If you are infinitely forgiving of the employees who constantly miss deadlines
Yeah.
because you want to maintain your identity as a good, understanding person,
Your high performers will watch that happen.
and they will realize that excellence and mediocrity yield the exact same reward,
Yeah.
your kindness.
Oh, that's demoralizing.
Highly. They will become demoralized and leave. Meanwhile, your low performers will comfortably stay and take full advantage of you.
It's the handful of sand metaphor fully realized. Hold it too loosely and the wind simply takes it.
Exactly right.
The source text really leaves you walking a razor's edge here. It forces you to hold up a mirror to your own daily interactions and ask, am I failing to get the results I need because I am prioritizing my own ego's desire to be liked over what the project actually requires to succeed?
It is a profoundly uncomfortable realization. It demands that you strip away the vanity regarding your own morality.
It's a vanity of goodness.
Yes. If your primary, overriding goal at the office is to be perceived as a wonderful person, you are ultimately just serving your own emotional needs.
Wow.
But if your primary goal is the actual success of the enterprise and the financial security of the team, you will inevitably have to make calculated decisions that cause certain individuals to fear or dislike you.
Navigating that requires an exhausting level of self-awareness.
It really does.
You have to know the exact moment to apply the Machiavellian pressure to get a project over the finish line, and the exact moment to pull back so you don't cross the line from fear into hatred.
Which is the true underlying mastery of power described in these texts.
It's a balancing act.
It is not about being a cartoonish tyrant every hour of the day. It is about having the capacity for absolute ruthlessness in your psychological toolkit and possessing the cold judgment to know exactly when the situation demands you use it.
Well, we've taken a truly fascinating journey through a remarkably dense and challenging concept today.
It's a lot to process, for sure.
We started with a single provocative question about the nature of power and authority, and we've essentially dissected the darker, deeply pragmatic realities of human behavior in the workplace.
Contrasting those fragile ideals of being a good person with the sheer, undeniable utility of being calculated and feared.
Right, and we did it by looking through the combined lenses of Niccolo Machiavelli's historical macro ruthlessness and Robert Greene's micro-level psychological warfare.
It really provides a framework that forces you to analyze the professional world exactly as it operates, rather than how you might wish it operated.
And as we wrap this up, think about your own career for a second. Every single time you navigate a relationship at work, whether you are managing a massive department or you are a junior employee trying to navigate a tricky project with your boss, you are participating in this exact dynamic.
You're always in the game.
You are making continuous invisible micro-calculations between goodness and fear, between accommodation and strict boundary setting.
Because power is never confined to just the corner office. It is the unspoken currency of every single professional interaction you have.
So we want to leave you with a final lingering thought to mull over the next time you log into a tense Zoom meeting or walk into a performance review.
A little homework.
Exactly. We've established that managing solely through fear creates compliance, but breeds hidden resentment.
Right.
And we know that managing solely through goodness invites exploitation and a loss of control. So is there a hidden synthesis? Is the ultimate unspoken form of power actually managing in a way where you are just good enough and just ruthless enough that people fundamentally fear losing your goodness?
Thank you for joining us today on this deep dive.
Thanks for listening. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.